You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and in this episode of the podcast, I'll be covering some things solo because, the timing didn't line up. Booth Ninja was out, and Dodd was incapacitated, so it just fell to me to record this episode this week, and so without further ado, I plan to cover some of Scanner 51's various emails that he'd sent to me over the past month and a half that unfortunately we didn't get to during the feedback episode. Also, we'll be covering the Toys R Us debacle of their liquidation and the death of Stephen Hawking, among other things. So, that's going to cover this episode pretty much. So, as always, this episode is brought to you by Gamefly. You can sign up today by going to gameflyoffer.com/alteredgeek to get percentage off and get some cool stuff there. So, going into the episode, I want to tackle Scanner 51's emails first. Since they're about a month out now, in a particular comment, he says on the February 12th episode, probably when we started doing the new short show format, he says, "Hey guys, first off, as usual, great show, liking the new format of the show. You two are doing great. So this is in regards to the episode from the 12th. You guys said that you were unhappy with DC Comics. My question is it just the movie side or book side as well? I hope it's not the book side. If it is, you guys need to give the books another look. They are killing it in the book side of things. Rebirth was a game changer. Tom King's Batman is number 3, or top 3 sold every month. Batman White Knight, incredible. Dark Knight's Metal, awesome. Doomsday Clock, the only words I have for that right now is Pancakes and Rorschach meeting Batman. Action has been good. I just received 2 number 1000 issues. The company crossovers have been great. And somehow, some new Superman became a really good book. Again, give the books another look. You'll be pleasantly surprised. I myself have not gotten really into the comics. I got into them slightly reading them online prior to the New 52. And then with New 52 back in, I think that was 2011, I decided to jump on and investigate the series, kind of starting off at this new starting point. And then the continuity issues started happening, particularly with Batman. Everybody else, not so much. And then the story started going downhill for me, and I started tanking on it. And then I heard that they were going to redo it again and collide the universes back together of the pre-New 52 and the New 52, creating the Rebirth. And while I do have the first issue of Batman Rebirth and a few other things like that, I'm not even sure what issue they're at now, because I think they did that 2-3 years ago? Maybe 4 years ago? I'm not entirely sure. I'm a little behind on some of my information. But the comics, like I'd kind of gone over some of it with Mike. I'd kind of done some of the Batman Beyond. That Batman Beyond's about my only interest point at this point of DC Comics. The Dark Knight's Metal, I kind of glanced at it, didn't really care. The Doomsday thing. My thing is I don't want to have to own a comic from every line to get the story. And that was something that was a little frustrating, is so many crossovers between the different titles. It was getting too hard to differentiate a Batman story from a Superman, from a Justice League, from anything else. So I just opted not to read anymore. I've kind of stuck solely now to animation and film. I am no longer a comic collector by any meaning of the word. I'm actually liquidating all of my comics, which as soon as I get a tally of what I have left, I will probably put them up on my Twitter at SCP21. You'll probably see something on like eBay posting of some of this stuff. I've recently sold a ton of stuff. I'm selling my New 52 Justice League Batman. I'm selling my DC collectibles, the new Adventures of Batman and Robin, Batman figure, both new in the box. I'm going to be selling / possibly giving away my Batman Beyond Return of the Joker custom figure that I made way back in like 2011, 2010, somewhere in there. I'm going to be offloading. I have literally almost nothing left collectible-wise of action figures, unless it's like Bat related. So I honestly, I can't get into the comics. I mean, I know that Tom King's been knocking it out of the park with Batman, and honestly, if it weren't for the fact that it had been burnt out by Snyder and what they've been doing with the comics, I would probably check it out. But I miss the days of when I was reading during the Detective Comics days back in the 90s when we were doing Nightfall. That, to me, was my Batman era of comics, and then I didn't collect for a while. The animated series is still something I would get into if that were out. I still have a few of those, I believe. But other than that, I'm done. I'm physically done as far as collecting things, comics, or anything else. I don't want it taking up the space. I don't want... I don't want to be spending the money on it. Like, Star Trek Online, for instance, just came out with the ability to print your starships within the game. You can have them sent to a printer to either get them like a base coat. You can get them in a one color, like gold, silver, black, kind of a glossy paint, or you can have it hand detailed. And I toyed with the idea for a minute because I would love to get my starship for my Star Trek chapter that I have coming up, which isn't totally finalized yet, but it's almost there. I wanted to do it, but it's $200 just for the base model, and then I think $250 for the slightly painted, and then $350 for the hand detailed paint. And for that, I could go spend $50, go buy a model kit, and then do it myself. Because it's essentially, I mean, granted, if you're doing customizations based in the game of different pieces of the starships, yeah, it's wonderful. Like if you're mixing and matching parts from different versions of the ship or variations of that class, then that's awesome. But if you're using something that's like a base model, like I have the Constitution class refit Enterprise 2 heavy cruiser, which is basically the Enterprise A from Star Trek 6. That's my USS Future Imperfect, and so it would essentially not really be that much different other than a couple of paint aesthetics, and for that, I can do that on my own. The only other thing that would make it difficult is getting the decals printed to go on it. But for $300, I could have it CG animated, and then I could do whatever I want with it. So and not have to have it take up space. Although I would love to have the ship, but $300 is a lot to swallow. And I've gotten completely off track of Batman here, but yeah, I don't collect anything anymore. It's sad, but I can't get into it anymore. Moving on to his Star Trek Discovery comment. He says, I wanted to talk about Star Trek Discovery. First off, I've never seen the show, only recap shows on YouTube. But I did see the Enterprise on the show. The ship looked great. The look seemed to fit in with Discovery ships. After seeing this, I kind of hope that for next season, the producers just admit that the show is really a look reboot and really doesn't take place in the prime timeline. Either way, it looked cool. It was cool. Have a good weekend. So they've essentially said it is set in the prime timeline, no matter what we feel about it. They've managed to make history and everything else collide and connect into where it should line up with the original series. It's mostly just a look reboot as far as like the visual aesthetics, but they're claiming that the story fits in it. I still have yet to see how the Klingons piece into this. That's my only gripe about the show at this point is the Klingons, because I don't see any feasible way they could look like orcs and then change into what we have in Enterprise, the original series, The Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. So I've opted not to pay attention to that aspect, because if it does, it infuriates me. So Yeah, that's about all I got there. And then he says, as far as the old media, I really enjoyed the last episode about dead media. I remember getting my first CD. I remember going to the warehouse. It was a media store in the San Francisco Bay Area. They're dead too now. To buy CDs, I guess with all the new tech out there, I haven't given much thought to what I've seen come and go. I remember Betamax, my uncle still having a working one. VHS to DVD, now I still buy DVDs, mostly for the DC animated stuff. He says, that I've seen his setup, which, yes, I have. He also buys digital mostly now, so much easier, so many good movies spread across 2 phones and a tablet. Yeah, that's kind of my boat, too. I have an external hard drive, and I just dump all of my stuff to it, and then plug it into my a flash drive of what I'm going to watch that day, copy it to the flash drive, plug it into my portable computer that's behind my TV, and then it works great. It's like my own personal Netflix without the visual interface, which I may yet come up with something for that. But he says, yeah, he subscribes to SiriusXM and Google Play Music. No more CDs. I've not bought a book in well over 3 years, and I've migrated from comics to digital comics, but that story is for the pull bag. Sorry, guys. One more thing. There was one time when moving from old tech to new tech made me sad when his daughter was 6 months old. Went to a DC to visit family and see the space shuttle. Tell my daughter, we used to do that. We used to fly in space. Now we don't. She's 4 now. I hope we fix that soon. I think now that we've had the SpaceX thing successfully launching, I think we're going to start seeing more space programs and more space travel, which is awesome. I have no qualms of going there, but I think it would be great for something for them to do other than go to the space station. In our lifetime anyway. I know that we go to the space station quite often, but at this point I don't really want to see that boat play out. So and then as far as the topic on the comic shop, I will leave that for episode in the future when I have a co-host, because I think it's a logical question. It just needs a little bit more thought. So without further ado, I'm going to take a quick break, come back on the other side with another dead medium, toy stores. We'll be back after this.
They got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't wanna grow up.
I'm a Toys R Us kid.
They got the best for so much less.
You'll really flip your lid.
From bikes to trains to video games. It's the biggest toy store there is. Gee whiz. I don't wanna grow up, 'cause baby, if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid.
Once a Toys R Us kid?
Always a Toys R Us kid.
So, as you heard with the sad days are here now, Toys R Us will be no more. Can't say I didn't see this coming for years. Every time I go by one, there's still one in Flint, Michigan that is close to our main mall in the city, around all of my family. There's also they used to have a Kids R Us too, which the Kids R Us closed down like 5 to 10 years ago. The Babies R Us is still there. However, it's also been let known that Toys R Us liquidation also affects Babies R Us. So you have 30 days to use gift cards, and game's over. So yeah, it's going to add to stress for the companies that make toys and games. Basically meaning that changes for the owners of the strip malls where most of the stores are. Yeah, I can't speak today. So it's going to impact more than 30,000 Toys R Us workers in the U.S. And yeah, that's just insane and unfortunate, because I feel bad for everybody that's losing their jobs. I mean, you're going to get some great sales in the stores, I hope. And you're probably going to see a lot of eBay scalping on there. But Yeah, it says that the stores won't close right away as far as the Babies R Us, but when they shut their doors, it'll be unclear. So people that have registries there are encouraged to open it at like Target, Walmart, or somewhere else. So yeah, the hopes is that somebody will buy it as well as Toys R Us, but Toys R Us has been losing money for years. It also accounts for about 11% of Mattel's annual sales and 9% of Hasbro's, which is going to hurt them. I don't know how much. I mean, because both those companies have like entire aisles at those stores, which means you're going to be relegated to going to places like Meijer, Target, Walmart, pretty much anywhere else that's one of those big toy retailers now, because like KB Toys is gone, Toys R Us is going to be gone, and it's been around for over 70 years. Toys R Us is basically going to close and sell all of its 740 stores in the U.S., and it's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, they back in 2007, they even bought that FAO Schwartz store, and then it closes the store in 2015 and sells the brand a year later. And then in 2015, they closed their flagship store of Toys R Us in Times Square, which had the 60-foot Ferris wheel after 14 years. And then 2017, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. And then following poor holiday sales, they filed a plan to close or sell at 740 stores in the U.S., which you'll probably see more of the mom and pop stores come up now at this point, because the giants are basically falling. The David and Goliath aspect of the entire industry is just collapsing. People don't make as much money, or they can buy better deals online. Toys R Us, let's face it too, they cost a lot more. And that was one of the reasons that I stayed away from Toys R Us. It was honestly because I couldn't afford to go there. Not that I didn't appreciate the big quantity of things, or the variety, or even the exclusives, but even that didn't save them, which is, again, unfortunate. But yeah, they're going to be closing their stores in Canada. They're going to be closing, like, the Toys R Us in America is going to have a huge blow to Hasbro and Mattel overall, though, just because they're literally the only single toy store left for the most part, and that's unfortunate. And it's pretty bad when Hasbro lost as much as they did, considering they own like Nerf, My Little Pony, Transformers. They have all the Disney properties, pretty much, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm. So, and even in the fourth quarter, all that fell. So, and Walmart and Target are having struggles too. I think a lot of it is the toys keep going up in price, and it's not sustainable as it was 20 years ago. I remember paying $20 for an Ultra Transformer 20 years ago, and now they're like $60 or $70, which is just bonkers. Like, I can't even fathom spending that much on one of those figures. Like, my Beast Wars Megatron, Transmetal 2 Dragon, I bought it for $20 20 years ago. Maybe more. And I sold it on eBay for $65, used, no package, with all the parts. Mint condition. Like, I mean, the fact I tripled it, and it basically somebody paid what you would pay now going to the store to get the same toy. It's ridiculous. So, I'm wondering if it's because Amazon has basically put the pressure on having lower prices, and the fact that none of these stores want to match each other's prices, or they're all trying to basically strong arm you into paying something. I don't really know, but MGA Entertainment is trying to organize a group of fellow toy makers in Canada to purchase the liquidation of the Toys R Us stores in Canada to more or less keep them open. So again, we'll see what happens. There's still time. I mean, even though they haven't found anybody to buy the company. I mean, the Canadian division has about 80 stores, so it's still less than the American side, but the Canada side basically is said to have a good business sense and run it efficiently. Who knows what happens to the UK version with the 25 stores they have there. This is just mind-boggling, watching a giant tumble and fall. So we'll see what happens. It's still a couple weeks out before anything severe happens. But I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more giants tumble this year. We're probably going to see Sears go down. We're probably going to see the rest of Kmart go down. You're probably going to start seeing a lot of drops in pricing just because people aren't going to be buying anything. It's come to that point where people are just kind of sick of it, or they just decide, I don't need it. Kind of like I've decided with a lot of my collectibles, I just don't need it. So I want it, don't get me wrong, but I go to yard sales, my wife does, for our boys, and that's where they get all their stuff. So it's better off that way. We don't have to spend as much, and as a whole, I think that it just helps people save money.
Professor Hawking, it's an honor and a privilege to meet you, sir.
I know.
I want to thank you for taking time to see me.
My pleasure. I enjoyed reading your paper very much. You clearly have a brilliant mind.
I know.
Your thesis that the Higgs boson is a black hole, accelerating backwards through time, is fascinating.
Thank you. It came to me one morning in the shower.
That's nice. Too bad it's wrong.
And finally, to round out this particular episode for the Friday edition, because I'm not getting into a ton of news, being that, one, there's not a lot of it, but two, there's really no point. We've talked Toys R Us, we've talked not collecting, we've caught up on some feedback. Stephen Hawking died this week at age 76, one of the science's brightest stars, as they put it. Which, it's sad to say that he passed away. He was in Star Trek, even as like a cameo thing, kind of a dream. It's sad to lose a man of brilliance. I'm still of the opinion, yes, some science has merit, just like some beliefs do too. My particular belief is you can't have chaos and create something from nothing. Chaos doesn't create, it destroys. So, like, I don't see how the beginning of the universe. So, that's why I believe in God, partially, and that's totally different side of things. But his information as far as technology and science, as far as, like, the today world and the future, he's a very intelligent man. And had a lot of breakthroughs on singularity, space-time, despite Hawking not having the ability to speak or really communicate in a normal sense, and being confined to the chair, his brain was still all there, and he I don't know, it's just I don't know all that much about what he knows or what he was good at, but he had a lot of theories of, you know, cosmic proportions, you know, with Carl Sagan and people like that, and first to show quantum fluctuations, distribution of matter. Like I said, the guy was brilliant. I give kudos and props to him. He's, you know, floating among the stars now. It truly was a sad day for science, and it was just kind of shocking that, you know, he passed away. I mean, I know it was inevitable that it was going to happen at some point. And then he's also been fortunate enough to be in, biographies, documentaries, Theory of Everything, The Simpsons, and in The Next Generation, The Big Bang Theory. He's had a lasting effect on science and pop culture, and that's a thing of legends. So I'm going to leave that there before I torch and burn this entire section. It's not something I'm well versed in. Dodd is well versed in it, but by the time we get a chance to record, it'll be old news, and I just felt that he should get his time to shine. So, yeah. I think that's about going to round it out on this episode. What do you guys want to hear about next week? I have no Tuesday episode backlogged, so there's a possibility there may be a Tuesday episode that I'll record Sunday night and release on Tuesday. There's a possibility there may not be. So if you guys want to hear something, want a topic, we do have a few cataloged back as far as the topics themselves are concerned. I may pull from one of them if it's something I can do on my own. If it's not, I will bring it up when I have a co-host. But until next time, I've been Steve and C. Phillips on Altered Geek. And you can get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks every week on the Geekcast Radio Network and AlteredGeek.com.